What's up? This is K.Flay, and this is Track by Track for Inside Voices. Four-letter words started as a little riff in a studio I was renting right before COVID. And I was going through a hard time in my relationship, but I was sort of at that point where you're kind of laughing at yourself, like you've become a farce of, I don't know, I think people can relate. You've become a farce of the person who's like kind of sad and heartbroken. And I was just noodling around, and that first line came to me. I drank a liter of tequila in my bedroom, which I didn't. I should say that for the record. Everyone's like, oh my God, you drank a liter of tequila. I didn't. I did drink some tequila. I didn't have a liter of tequila. But it just started coming to me. I think the rhythm of that verse on top of the rhythm of the riff, it was feeling really exciting to me. And again, we talked about this earlier, but what I say in the pre-chorus, I'm usually nice, but just for tonight, I want to be mean. I want to fight. And that's like, I think this song to me really is that expression of catharsis. And it's, as I started writing it, it became so much bigger than like about a relationship or about one situation. It's about just being a human in this world and in this society. And these moments we have of like, I can't take it. Like I normally don't say anything, but like right now I need to say it, and I need to say like, fuck you, which is, I think it's the most sort of confrontational thing you could say to anybody. And it felt actually quite uncomfortable for me to say. And that's when I knew maybe I was hitting something that would resonate and that was like important for me to explore. And then I linked up with actually two of my best friends here in LA, one of whom I collaborate with on tons of songs. We've done many of the songs on my last two records together, and the three of us started working on this thing. And one of my friends, Noah Breakfast, who co-produced it, he's an amazing keyboard player, so there's some really, really cool synth stuff in the track. And then Tommy English, the other co-producer, is amazing guitar player, and I think that combination of the three of us, we really I hope brought it to life and made something like sonically really fresh. Yeah, so Good Girl was so fun to do. I wrote this track, as you say, with Dan Reynolds, who's the lead singer of Imagine Dragons and an amazing songwriter. He writes a lot of songs for other artists and is incredible. Dan used to be my A&R at Interscope for my last two records. And actually, a fun fact, Dan and I met over a video chat. So just to fully tell you how important video chat is to me. Yeah, I was staying with him at his house with his family, who I love, and I got to get close with over the years, which is a real pleasure because they are really, really lovely people. And I was staying there to write a few songs in between, like I was traveling places. Again, this is like right before COVID, and a friend of ours sent a track over, kind of like a guitar progression, and we wrote this song. And I think, it's interesting. It's called Good Girl, and it's co-written by a man. But I think that speaks to the spirit of this, which is that, be a good girl is sort of a phrase we can all understand for know your place, mind your manners, do what people tell you to do, don't break the mold, don't ruffle feathers. So in many ways, I think it's a non-gendered feeling to be told, be a good girl. And we can all understand that in different ways in our lives. And I know Dan's felt it, which is why we wrote the song together, and that's what I think is really cool about it. For me, it's a little bit abstract in the verses, but really what I'm talking about is finding myself. How do I find myself in this world? The world's got ideas about me and about you and about everyone, but how do I find myself when I'm living in that world? And how do I go out and experiment? And how do I go out and make mistakes? And how do I win and how do I lose? And at some point, I think we all realize, and it might not be until you're like 75, it might not come until late in life. But again, there's that moment I say in the chorus, everyone say be a good girl, but I'm getting tired of being nice. And there does come a moment when you have to define yourself on your own terms. And that's not me saying you have to be an asshole to do it. It's me just saying you have to step out of that prescribed role and kind of look at it from above or from the side or whatever, and decide what makes sense for you, because like life is too short to not do it, and that's been, I think, one of the greatest blessings about being a musician is you live in this insane world where like there are no rules, and it offers you a lot of license to do that. And I wish everybody had that kind of freedom, because I think it's really beautiful. So dating my dad again began pre-COVID, sort of right before COVID, and it evolved out of a therapy session I had where I had the realization, which is not a new realization, that as I say in the chorus, you sort of, you either become your parents or you marry them or date them or whatever. And I was just thinking about how like amusing that is. I mean, it's painful, right, on some level, but it's also kind of delightful in the worst possible way. And so I was sort of like messing around, playing that guitar riff or little progression that happens in the verses, and yeah, that chorus just sort of poured out of me. And I think my goal with that song really was to convey that sense of humor and that levity, because I think, with each song on this EP, it's really a way of me expressing this kind of like, reckless, loud voice in my head. And I think one of the ways that I personally cope with stress and distress in my life is with humor a little bit. Like, I think you have to laugh at some point. And to me, Dating My Dad is really that song where we all get a chance to laugh, because it is funny. And so I'd finished the demo. Okay, COVID hits, we're, blah, blah, blah. A mutual friend, so basically a good friend of mine, who I've written a bunch of songs with, a guy named Nick Long, amazing songwriter, an amazing person. He's been doing a lot of stuff with Travis and worked on the Machine Gun Kelly record and all that. And I sent him the song and was sort of like, do you think Travis would maybe like play on this or work on it? He's like, let me connect you guys. And he was awesome. He was a total pro, though. We did everything. This is when LA was in lockdown. So we did everything remotely. So he sent some stuff. We talked about some notes. He sent a little bit more, and literally that was it. I mean, he is like, he's very good at playing the drums. But it was cool because, I think obviously Travis has like this amazing drum tone and amazing energy. And so like, I think with that song, it really gave it like this bounce, which again was important to me, for it to feel like both that it had like a gravitas and heaviness to it, but also a bounce and that sense of humor. Yes, so TGIF began as a little riff song in the same studio where I started Four Letter Words. I began this track when Donald Trump was still president. It's even frightening to utter his name. I hope I will not have to many times. But it really felt, and like things were especially here in the United States, I feel like, COVID had hit. We had this psychotic president who, and it just sort of felt like whatever train track and train had been going was just falling off a cliff, like in a Looney Tunes cartoon, and it's just, and I think I was feeling really frustrated by that, and by the fact that, like, I'm just a citizen, and I don't know what to do. And also feeling very frustrated by the fact that I am living in this capitalist society. Capitalism is directly connected to racism and misogyny and xenophobia in many ways, and like all these really, really negative ideologies. And so I want to rage against that, right? I want to fight back, but also I have to pay rent. I have to pay rent for this studio. I have to pay rent for my house. Like, what's a girl to do? So that was all coursing through my mind as I'm writing this thing, truly just noodling around. I have no agenda for it, but I did send it to a friend of mine who's a producer I work with. And he was like, dude, this is dope. We should finish this. Like, this is a good song. And this is a track that evolved over quarantine. And it took some time, but essentially I worked on it with two producers, JT Daly and Tommy English, who also worked on 4 Letter Words. And we were just trying to get it to this very demented place. That was the word I kept using. It's like, I want it to sound demented when it drops, when the drop really comes in. And, there's horns in there. There's like drop C guitars. There's all types of crazy things. At some point, and actually I went back and looked for it before this interview, we were like, should we get Tom to play on this? Like, I say Rage Against the Machine in the song. That was pre-Tom, by the way. And I had worked with Tom on his solo record. I've known him for about 3 or 4 years now, and I love Tom. Like, we have a friendship, and I really respect him as a person. I think in many ways, he's one of those people in the music industry where I'm like, I love where you are, and I love the journey you've had, and I love how open he is to new ideas and styles and like collaborating with young artists. Like, I think it's awesome. So yeah, I texted Tom and was just like, hey, no pressure, a million disclaimers. Like, you don't have to do this. If it sucks, you don't have to do this. Anyway, he wrote back, he's like, I love it. Yeah, give me a week. And then sent back just all these guitars and this amazing solo, and the song really came together after that. And I think, of course, Tom has been making music that touches on these subjects for decades now. But I think the struggle is, real in terms of when you are embedded in a system, you want to burn it down, but it's also your house. And you want to live somewhere. So I think, to me, TGIF is the expression of that. And I hope people can connect to it. Or if they don't want to listen to the lyrics, I hope they just think it's a banger and they want to play it. You know what? I can only hope people remember this. So this song has an amazing story, which is, for the past 8 years, I have been consistently and internationally called Katherine. Now, my name is Christine, spelled with a K. I'm very open about that. I'm not the type of artist who introduce myself, hey, what's up? I'm K. I'm K.Flay. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm Christine. So it's very clear. Like, I'm not there. There's no ambiguity. Okay, here I am in like Munich, right? Go to the radio station, meeting everybody. Okay, I've already introduced myself. Then the radio host goes, okay, so, Katherine, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. What is happening here? And I'm telling you, this is like across countries. This is all over the world. People are calling me Katherine. So then I'm like, is this like a past life thing? Was I Katherine in a past life? What is going on here? And it became just this joke on tour. like people, if they really wanted to piss me off in my band or crew, they'd be like, "Hey, Katherine," and I'd be like, if I wasn't in the mood for it, I would actually get pretty annoyed. So JT Daly, who's my producer collaborator, he and I did Blood in the Cut together. He also played in my band for years. Like, I love JT. He was like, and JT and I both, worship at the altar of Kanye West. Say what you will about like his personal life or whatever the hell's going on now, but like as a musician, I mean, he's like so influential to both of us in so many ways. So just for some backdrop, JT was like, I feel like we should do a song about this. Like, you should write a song about this because it's like bothering you, And usually those make good songs, like real things that are bothering you. So I started writing this years ago as a joke, this chorus. My name isn't Katherine, my name isn't Crystal, my name isn't Nikki or Chad or Sebastian. Like, I'm just like out here just like freestyling, essentially. I found this like little loop, I chopped it up. I'm like in Ableton, and I played JT like 8 bars of this thing. And he was like, this is good, this is a good idea. And then it got tabled. I was making my last record, which was not a rap record in any way, and so whatever. COVID hits, all this is, and JT and I are kind of like, should we finish that song? Has there ever been a better time to put out this like wild, meandering track about the curse and randomness of a name? And our relationship to our parents and our ancestors. And, it's like a name is so arbitrary, and yet it kind of determines so much in your life. And being called by the wrong name or being misidentified in any way, whether it's like your gender, your nationality, your ethnicity, like it hurts, And so we just basically, that was the starting point. And then I just decided the song should really have no repeating like rhythmic structure. So every verse is like a little bit different, kind of reaching this like climax. And JT killed it on the production. And I think it's just, I feel like it's my opus. And I really hope to God nobody ever calls me Katherine, though I'm sure they will. I'd bet $10,000 that someone will call me Katherine.